Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Food Wars. If you're new here, my name is Kate. I'm a health coach and I post videos on a high-fat, nutrient-dense way of eating. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, feel free to share, and make sure to subscribe. This is episode 3 of my series called Food Wars. Pretty much in this series, we just compare two ways of eating, look at the nutrition in both, and see which one comes out on top. Today, we are going to be comparing a dirty keto diet with a clean keto diet. Now, before we get started, I just want to make a little bit of a disclaimer. I've already edited through this video and I feel weird classifying someone's diet as dirty, but I just want to say that this is not personal. This is more about the food than the actual person who's eating it, so no shade whatsoever to anybody. But with that said, let's get into the video. The first person's diet we're going to be looking at today is Michelle Alvarez, who eats what I would call a dirty keto diet. The macros are definitely there, it's low in carb and high in fat, but there is a lot of processed food in this day of eating. And then we have Missmikaylag, who eats what I would call a clean keto diet, mainly based around whole foods. Now, before we begin, I just want to say that both of these women's channels are not based around diet or health or fitness. Michelle actually focuses mainly on makeup, and Michaela is more lifestyle, so she has cleaning videos, outfit videos, things like that. But what they have in common is they have both found success losing weight using the keto diet, and they are sharing their experience to help others, which I think is great. So if you've watched any of my previous Food Wars episodes, in those ones we focused mainly on comparing the nutrition, but today I actually want the main focus to be on the food quality and how that can impact your weight loss as well as your overall health. Starting off with Michelle, she clocked in at 1,600 calories. She ate 51 grams of protein, 35 total carbs, and 145 grams of fat. And then she had 10 grams of fiber and 7 grams of sugar. And then Michaela had 1,900 calories, 91 grams of protein, 36 grams of carbs, 168 grams of fat, and then 18 grams of fiber and 13 grams of sugar. Okay, so we will go quickly through the nutrition. Looking at the vitamins first, Michelle, who is the dirty keto person, and if you're not following along, I know it's kind of confusing because both names start with M, but Michelle, who's going to be on the left for most of this, she's the dirty keto eater, and Michaela, who's on the right, she's the clean keto eater. So surprisingly, Michelle came out on top for most of the vitamins. And I have a hunch as to why this is, which I will talk about a bit later in the video. For minerals, 𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗗 did a bit better in iron, zinc, and copper. They were about even in iodine, and Michelle did better in selenium. And then Michelle had more sodium, 𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗗 more potassium, Michelle more calcium, 𝗥𝗘𝗔 more magnesium, and 𝗥𝗘𝗔 more phosphorus. And finally, for omega-3s and omega-6s, both Michelle and 𝗥𝗘𝗔 were pretty even in both actually. They both had 18,000 milligrams of total omega-6 and pretty similar numbers for total omega-3 as well. If you've watched any of my other Food Wars videos, in those ones I talked about why it's important to keep omega-3s and omega-6s in balance. Both Michelle and 𝗥𝗘𝗔 had a ratio of about 15:1 for omega-6s to omega-3s, so that's quite a bit higher than what is optimal. So overall, both diets are pretty comparable in terms of nutrition, but I wanted to look at and break down some of the meals that they had and compare them in terms of quality, the amount of ingredients, and things like that. For breakfast, Michelle had eggs, I can't believe it's not butter, which is basically margarine, sliced cheese, and sausage patties. So my concern here is that a lot of this is highly processed, and the problem isn't the processing itself, it's that this processing often comes with a million unnecessary and harmful ingredients. The one food here that's jumping out at me as being the most harmful is the I can't believe it's not butter. If we look at the ingredients, it includes purified water, soybean oil, palm kernel oil, palm oil, salt, soy lecithin, natural flavors, vinegar, vitamin A, palmitate, and beta-carotene for color. I talked about this quite a bit in my last video that was discussing Kraft's new salad frosting. I really can't say that without laughing. And I don't want to repeat myself too much in this video, but basically vegetable oils, which is the category that soybean oil falls under, are toxic for the body. These are one of the worst, I don't even want to call them foods, that we can consume. It's actually pretty ironic that these oils are called vegetable oils because none of them even come from vegetables. A quick summary on why soybean oil is so bad. Soybean oil is mainly polyunsaturated fat, which is the least heat stable out of all of the types of fat. This means when it is heated pretty much at all, it oxidizes. And to be extracted from the plant, it has to go through really high heat processing. So you can pretty much bet that by the time you buy these oils off the shelf, they are already rancid. Consuming oxidized oils leads to oxidized stress within the body, and oxidative stress is the root cause of diseases such as heart disease, cancer, asthma, and dementia. Now, I just want to be clear that any sort of oil can oxidize, but polyunsaturated oils oxidize the easiest. I also just want to mention that smoke point is different from the temperature at which an oil will oxidize. A lot of these oils are promoted as having a high smoke point, but that doesn't mean that they aren't already rancid by the time you buy them. The other problem with these vegetable oils is that they are high in omega-6. A couple minutes ago, we looked at the total amount of omega-3s and omega-6s that Michelle and 𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗗 consumed within the day, and they were both consuming 15 times more omega-6s than omega-3s. The reason you want to be consuming close to the same amount of omega-6s and omega-3s is because they are both converted through the same pathway in the body. They need to be converted in order for our bodies to use them. If you are consuming too many omega-6s, then that means little to no omega-3s are converted. Now, there is a little bit of a workaround to this. If you are eating preformed DHA and EPA, then you don't have to worry about the conversion, so this isn't as much of a concern. Now, looking at the other foods that Michelle had for breakfast, the cheese melts, those are, again, a little bit iffy. They contain a lot of ingredients. I think that you would be much better off buying a regular block of cheese that has 1, 2, maybe 3 ingredients in it. In comparison, for breakfast, Missmikaylag had eggs, avocado oil, and electrolyte powder. So we talked about soybean oil a bit. I just wanted to touch on avocado oil as well. Avocado oil is mainly monounsaturated fat. This means it is more heat stable than oils that are mostly polyunsaturated. It is released from the plant naturally, so it doesn't have to go through so much processing and high heat processing. The one downside to avocado oil is that it also has a pretty unfavorable omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Again, this wouldn't be a concern if you are getting EPA and DHA elsewhere in your diet. And after breakfast, both Michelle and Missmikaylag had a version of, I guess, a bulletproof or a keto coffee. In Michelle's coffee, she used 2 types of sugar-free sweeteners, one that was maca and one that was vanilla. These sweeteners are advertised as 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 everything pretty much. And yes, that might be true, but again, let's look at the ingredients. Water, natural and artificial flavor, caramel color, lactic acid, cellulose gum, sucralose, sodium benzoate and potassium sorbate, aspartame potassium. My biggest concern here would be the artificial sweeteners, sucralose and aspartame potassium. Aspartame potassium is 200 times sweeter than sugar, and sucralose is 3 times sweeter than that. Now, although these sweeteners are said to have little to no effect on blood sugar and insulin, some individuals do find that both become elevated when they consume them. If you are eating a keto diet, a lot of the benefits come from keeping your blood sugar and your insulin low. So including artificial sweeteners like this is counterproductive. These have also been linked to many diseases, a lot of things to do with the gut, so Crohn's disease, IBS, leaky gut, and they have both been associated with weight gain. In Missmikayлаг's coffee, she used coconut oil, cream, collagen powder, and a soy coffee creamer. The first 3 ingredients are awesome. Pretty much just fat and protein. The last one, the coffee creamer, the soy milk is a little bit iffy, but she really only put just a dash of it in, so not too big of a deal. And finally, I just wanted to compare their snacks. So let's start with Missmikaylag this time. She had a snack that included blueberries, cucumber, pecans, and a cheese string. Again, with the cheese string, I mean, it's just as easy to buy a block of cheese. So that's really my main concern here. Also, the pecans are pretty high in omega-6s as well. This is the case for most nuts, which is why I'm personally not too big on consuming them in large quantities. She really only had a handful though, but this is another reason why her omega-6s and omega-3s were out of balance. Michelle only had 1 snack for the day, and it was these elevation bars. Now, I know some of these products that are labeled low carb are pretty terrible and borderline deceptive marketing. And unfortunately, this is one of those products. So for starters, they contain over 50 ingredients. In 1 bar, there is 20 total carbs. Of that, 8 grams is fiber and 10 grams is sugar alcohol. So that comes out to 2 grams of net carbs. 2 grams of net carbs, yeah, that might sound pretty keto. But these bars contain the 2 artificial sweeteners that we spoke about earlier, sucralose and acesulfame potassium, which again have been highly linked to weight gain. And they also contain maltitol. Maltitol is a sugar alcohol, which I have a whole other video where I talked a lot about it. Technically, sugar alcohols don't count towards net carbs, so these companies like to include them in these bars that they're marketing towards keto people. But maltitol actually has a pretty high glycemic index score. It actually isn't too much better for your blood sugar than table sugar. And again, circling back to what I said earlier, where most of the benefits of keto come from keeping your blood sugar and insulin levels low, eating a bar like this is really counterproductive. I said at the start I had a hunch as to why Michelle came out on top for most of the vitamins, and I think it's because a lot of these processed foods are fortified with vitamins and minerals. When we consume nutrients this way, however, our body cannot absorb them as well as it can if we get them through whole foods. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click that thumbs up button. And if there's anyone else's diet you would like me to look at and include in this series, please let me know in the comments down below. I have had a few recommendations so far, but I need to match people up. I want sort of similar people to compare to one another. So yeah, just keep throwing recommendations my way. I'll try to match everyone up and cover everyone. Thank you again, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.